So this week at Building Peace during the pandemic, I'm really happy to receive our colleague Gianluca Rampolla, who's the resident coordinator in Papua New Guinea. How do you see the impact of the pandemic on peace building? You've just gone out of a successful referendum process. You're investing heavily in peace building and reduction of violence in the highlands regions. How's the pandemic broadly affecting those efforts and the efforts of the country at building peace?
The country, as of today, has had 602 cases confirmed, over 30,000 tests done, so that's a 2% level of contagion, which is not big. Mm-hmm. But the global slowdown, the restrictions that have been put in place within the country to contain the spread and mitigate the impact, and the restrictions that have been put in place by the countries and the immediate partners in the region have had a huge impact on the economy of the country that has then translated itself into impact on livelihoods.
And when you look at the UN strategy, what has changed for you as a result of the pandemic, both in terms of your work methods, but especially in terms of your priorities, and where you are refocusing the attention of the country team in support of the government?
Marc-André, the programs we had in place were already on target. We were already aiming at the people that needed the most and the parts of the countries that needed the most. So what the pandemic has brought is a need to redouble our efforts and to increase and speed up the delivery of assistance. So what we have been doing is focusing as fast as we could on the secondary impacts of the pandemic, mainly in the areas of protection and food security, while at the same time we brought in all of our capacities to assist as frontline the government on mitigation and containment from the health perspective. And the UN is the frontline. Most, if not all, of the support that the government is getting is being channeled through the UN because most of the other partners have either downscaled or moved out of the country. Mm-hmm. In terms of peace building, the impact has been moderate, I would say. And we have 2 or 3 challenges that I would focus on in terms of peace building in the country. As you know very well, one is the continued implementation of the provisions of the Bougainville Peace Agreement. We are in the post-referendum stage, and what was meant to happen as of early this year was that the negotiations would have had to start, and that has been slowed down quite substantially on 2 accounts. Well, between March and June, there have been heavy restrictions, including lockdowns and inability to move around the country, which meant that the 2 negotiation teams could not get together. And the second was the inability for us to bring in the mediation and facilitation capacity that we have been providing in the run-up to the referendum to support that process. So that's one immediate impact that we mitigated by ensuring that we would make maximum use of IT. So we started having the teams meet through teleconferencing. You know better than I do, Marc-André, that negotiations, especially delicate political negotiations, have a human dimension to it. It's not the same thing to sit face to face than sit screen to screen. Mm-hmm. And there's a good part of negotiations that do not happen in formal settings. They happen in informal settings, in corridor talks, and that's not been happening, regrettably. I think we have mitigated the challenges, but to a good extent, that has slowed down the process a bit. The other part of it is the work we're doing up in the highlands, where thanks also to the funding provided by the PBF to start with the GYPI last year and the new stream of funding coming online this year, we've been working in addressing a number of intercommunal conflicts. Our inability to actually engage directly on the field, of course, has slowed down our ability to work, but we've been able to rely heavily on our implementing partners and the churches we work with on the ground to continue the work with us and for us, as we were not able for a window of 3 to 4 months to actually deploy on the ground, but we are, thanks God, able to go back. And then there are the structural challenges in terms of social cohesion within the country that have been heavily affected, of course, by the economic challenges linked to the global slowdown and the impact of the restrictive measures put in place within the country.
Very good. So quite a few challenges ahead, with some that could be concerning if the pandemic and if the socio-economic lockdown continues. But thank you so much, Gianluca. A real pleasure to be with you, and thanks for sharing with us the situation in PNG.